as any Palestinian will tell you, like, this did not start in October. This has been such a long-standing issue my whole lifetime, my mum's whole lifetime. Like, it's not so for Palestinians, and I think, and for a lot of Muslim and Arab households, like, this is a part of their everyday conversation. Welcome back to Mixed Up. I'm Emma.
And I'm Nicole, and today we're interviewing Sara Assad-Mannings, founder and co-owner of Bunhead Bakery. What started as a lockdown passion project that turned into pop-ups and stalls across South London is now a bricks and mortar Palestinian and women of color owned bakery in Herne Hill. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really excited that you have let us into your beautiful bakery. And yeah, I mean, I've known you now for quite a while, OG Salad Days Market days. I think before, when it was called a South London Makers Market. And yeah, saw you around Crystal Palace. So I feel like the best place to start is, how you came from selling at the market to here.
Yes, so I started Bunhead in lockdown in 2020 in April, and that's when I was living in Streatham Hill, actually. So like the OG Bunheads know me from Streatham Hill days. So I started selling buns, and at the time I was actually doing like hand laminated croissants as well, like selling people for people to cook them at home. But I was like focusing, like there was obviously a big focus on the buns, and at the time there were four sweet buns and a savoury bun, and it was like representative of all the kind of aspects of my life. There was like an OG cinnamon bun, which was just like the cinnamon bun. There's a lemon bun, which was like the UK bun. There was a rose and cardamom bun, which was the Palestinian bun. And there was a chocolate malt bun, because my stepmom is from New Zealand. And so that was for like Milo, which we have a lot in New Zealand. Yes. And then there was the salty bun, which is the za'atar feta chili. So that's how it started. And then slowly I was like exploring more Palestinian flavours and stuff like that, and like breads. And then I spent some time doing it part-time, was working for homeless charities, and with in a youth hostel, and then with Rough Sleepers in Southwark Borough. And then when I moved to my flat in Gypsy Hill, I decided to go and do it full-time, because I was getting more wholesale customers, and that was in October 2021. The first market I did was with the South London Makers Market when it was in Crystal Palace Library, and that was in May 2022. And then I quit my job in October 2022 and went full time with Bunhead. And then that's when I started doing more markets with Salad Days. I had more wholesale customers. I was doing wholesale deliveries and doing Crystal Palace Park Market. And then and then 2023 was full on. It's all we were doing. And then in June, I knew, like, since I was a kid, I said I wanted to open, like, my dream was that I wanted to open like a bakery. And when I was 16, I wanted to go to culinary school. My dad told me to stay in France. My dad told me to stay in the UK and do my A-levels. And then I went to film school, studied at film school at university. Wow. Yeah. Very cool. And that's where I met Georgia, who is co-owner of Bunhead Bakery. And so she was in between jobs, and I knew that like I was still doing it all from home, and my flat is like tiny, and I was getting very like claustrophobic. So
I can't believe you were doing all of that from home still.
Yeah, I look at my flat now, and I'm just like,
you're like, I'm free.
Well, that as well, but I was like, how did you do this? I don't even understand, like, because it's not like, it still feels small now, and I'm like, but it was filled with all the bakery stuff. So so then we started looking for shops in June 2023, and we put in offers in a couple of places, and it wasn't, and like didn't find anywhere. And then we found this place in September of 2023, and put in the offer in September 2023, and and then they accepted in September, and then October happened, and so we completed on the lease in March, and then 6 weeks building the space, and then opened on my 30th birthday.
Oh.
Yeah.
The timing is incredible. I love that.
Yeah, it's all very There's a lot of synergy.
Yeah. It's like, it's a difficult balance because like, I want to make so clear to everyone, like I said, like this was like the Palestinian element, especially when I decided to take it full time, it became such a central part of the business, and such a special way for me to explore my identity. And then obviously like I said, we put in the offer for this place in September, and then October 7th happened, and so like I'm like, there are people who are inevitably going to think that this is like capitalizing off a moment, or which is just absolutely like not the case. So I always feel a bit like, I don't know, funny about it.
Yeah, well, I think, like, as I said before, obviously I met you long before October, and I knew that was part of your business way before that. And even then I remember thinking like, oh, it was one of the few times I'd even seen Palestinian cooking or flavors in that way like highlighted. And I remember thinking, I was like, oh, it was unique to me because it was something I hadn't come across before. But then obviously now over time, I completely understand, the interests that people would have and why they would be interested. But I feel like we'll come on to that a bit later. But yeah, maybe you could tell us a little bit about obviously the inspiration behind the bakes and your family maybe, and like how that kind of all came together.
Yeah, so I mean the buns it's funny because like I'm not especially like, I don't know, like, but buns weren't a thing that I loved so much. Do you know what I mean? Like it wasn't like I was like really passionate about buns. It's like I just made the buns. Yeah. And then I called it Bunhead, and then it just like, so it just became that like, it was very organic, and it was just like, now that's what people come for the buns, and that's great, and they're delicious. So like, it's, I always feel like people want a more exciting story, and I'm just like I just made some buns. I delivered them to my sister, and she was like, you should sell these, and you can call yourself Bunhead. And I was like, okay.
I mean, it works.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, and I think in terms of my family in Palestine, my family here, or just everything.
I think both. Yeah, I think because like you said, when you started doing the different flavors, it was like kind of touching on all these like different parts of not only your heritage but like people that are like in your life, and that I guess make up that.
Yeah, so my mum is Palestinian, my dad is British, but my dad lived in Gaza and the West Bank for like 6-7 years, and that's where he met my mum. Yeah. And so they met there. My dad did his shahada in Palestine to get married to my mum. They're not practicing Muslims, but it was for my grandparents. And so they got married, and they moved back here. So they moved here so my mum could study. And their plan was always to move back to Palestine together, but then their relationship broke down, and like they had me, and they split up like when I was like really, really like a baby. And then so when I was 2, my dad met my stepmom, who is from New Zealand, and my siblings I just call them my siblings, but they're my step siblings because I've been around them since I was really, really young. Their dad was Spanish. So it's like a lot of different influences. Yeah. So I grew up with like I went between my mum and my dad, and all my mum's family are in Palestine. Or there's a few of the siblings. My mum's one of 11, and so a few of them, big family. So a few of them moved to Jordan, but I'm the first child of my generation born outside of Palestine. So and Jordan, so like the only one who's mixed, so it's
interesting.
Yeah,
so something we got asked quite early on when we started the podcast by a guest we had on the podcast was how we identify. And we found that it was quite a special moment because, to be honest, until I was asked on that podcast, no one had ever really asked me that before. We like to ask our guests that now, so it'd be interesting to know.
I was having this conversation this morning. I've been having it quite a lot recently because it's interesting. Obviously, my mum is Palestinian and my dad lived there for so long, and the majority of his friends are like from that time in his life. He's like fluent in Arabic. He's got a master's. Like it's embarrassing because they're both obviously speak Arabic and I don't speak Arabic. But anyway,
this is the plight.
Anyway,
so many of us.
I know it well.
but very much because then I was speaking to a friend of mine who's Iraqi. She's never been, and she said that like she just always identifies as Arab, as more of a like pan-Arab, and that's just like. But it was so drilled into me that like you are Palestinian, you are like, and the importance of that like I've never identified as anything else than just Palestinian. And I know that I am British as well, but like it's never been like I'm Arab, I'm this. It's like, so the only culture I identify with is Palestinian because of the importance of us knowing our heritage and being very clear and explicit in our heritage. So I identify very much with Palestine. But I've come to realize that in the last few months, because I think in some respects, because it was so like shoved down my throat by both my parents, I like kind of like rejected it for a while. But also at the same time, when I look back to my childhood, I would never hide from anyone that I was Palestinian. Just people didn't really ask, because also like I think I am very ambiguous. Like people never know where I'm from. They always ask me questions about where I'm from, and like, but so I was at like my primary environment with my parents, with both my parents at least. Like I knew that I was Palestinian. Yeah. I think it was more like secondary environments, even with my step family, and and in school environments and stuff like that. I think it was more. That confused me more, but at home, like, I was Palestinian. And so I identify very much with Palestine.
Yeah.
Of course.
And I guess that brings me onto, thinking about how, especially in London and living in London, I don't think that Palestinian history and culture was particularly known until, the recent horrific events that we've seen. And I suppose I want to ask you if that's shifted how you feel about identity in any way, or in how you want to present yourself and put yourself forward to the world.
I think that like this is always what in terms of the business, because that feels like so important to my like expression. Like this is always what it was going to be. Yeah. This is always where it would have ended up, but the last 9 months have like accelerated that. And I think that what I've been saying for a long time is so important to me was creating a business that was explicit and proud and being Palestinian, because there's so many business, like you don't see it around London, and a lot of Palestinians will hide behind being Lebanese, or like in terms of their food businesses, like there'll be Lebanese restaurants that if you actually get talking to the owners, they're actually Palestinian, but like it's just more simple and like less complicated to say it's Lebanese I really want to unpack that, because it's really interesting to know that people think it's more simple to say that their establishment's Lebanese rather than say it's Palestinian. It's undeniable. If I was out or something when I was younger, part of the reason that I felt like uncomfortable or embarrassed telling people I was Palestinian is because I knew that it could be inflammatory. I knew that I don't know who I'm speaking to. I don't know what their views are. I don't know. And like if I was speaking to people when I was growing up, like I feel like meet people out in a bar or whatever, and they ask where you're from. And you say you're Palestinian, you get like, oh, don't you mean you're Israeli, or don't you mean you're Pakistani, or that doesn't exist, or something like that. So like you don't. So it's just, it's easier. There is to not take the risk of a complicated life, and that it's as any Palestinian will tell you, like this did not start in October. This has been such a long-standing issue my whole lifetime, my mum's whole lifetime. Like it's not so. For Palestinians, and I think, and for a lot of Muslim and Arab households, like this is a part of their everyday conversation, and so it's like you just know that it means to say that you're Palestinian or you support Palestine means a lot.
It means and also I suppose it's, I guess, avoiding the triggering nature of a denial of home, like a denial of your home and the existence of Palestine.
But
it's so interesting, like hearing that now, because it's so connected to the things that we talk about on this podcast. Is again this kind of, it's a dismissal, it's a people wanting to tell you about yourself before they actually know you. It's a lot of, like diminishing of who you are ultimately as a person. So yeah, just hearing you say that now, I'm just kind of like connecting those dots, and I'm a bit like, wow, that's really surreal. That's a thing. What about where does your mom live, in the UK still, or?
Yeah, she lives in the UK. She moved back. She goes back most years, and she moved back when I was 19 to 25.
Oh wow, okay, yeah. So, oh nice. Yeah. And have you been to Palestine?
Yeah. I went quite regularly when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And then more sporadically since when I got older. So the last time I was there was 2019.
I do want to talk a bit more about October 7th, and also I feel like that was a time. It kind of reminded me a little bit of like almost like Black Square Summer of 2020, when it was kind of like people were very vocal about many things, and I guess I want to know if for you it became a little bit of an education piece. Like, did you feel like people were coming to you as like a resource and like wanting to know everything?
I don't necessarily think that people haven't directly asked me the question,
right?
But definitely people were looking to me to like give them some kind of information. But also like, I think that one thing I've said is like, there's something about Palestinian culture, and I know that like it is, because of the situation, you are taught about the history. You are like, it's so important for you to be equipped with the knowledge and to understand and to know how important it is to speak about your identity. I was listening to a Saint Laurent lyric the other day, and it was like Palestinians are underpaid life teachers, and I was like, there is something in that, because as soon as October 7th happened, it's like there were so many Palestinians in the diaspora like armed and ready to be those educators and who are like still working so hard now, because we'd like a moment like this has never happened. Like, it's never been. It's shocked me how little people knew, because obviously like it's just been my existence, but like there are so many people who just knew nothing about what was going, like who had no idea that Israel was only formed in 1948, who had no idea that Palestinians were living under occupation, who just thought that they were two completely different countries who hated each other for like no apparent reason. It was just like,
but it's decades of propaganda and storytelling that has and also lack of storytelling, much like we have seen with, for example, the Black curriculum, which was literally created because Black history is not taught. It's the same thing. Deliberately, Palestinian history isn't taught here. But I wonder if have there been specific things that you've found really surprising that people just don't know during the course of?
Well, I think just that there's a question that I get asked a lot if I'm talking to people about going this year, and they're like, "Are you not scared? Like, do you not think it? Like, do you not think like aren't they going to make it hard for you at the airport or whatever it may be?" And I just think like that has been happening since like whenever I go there, like they make it difficult. They take your passport off you at the airport. I've been strip searched in the airport. So it's like that's not like granted, it's more like they're likely to be a bit more aggressive about it, but it's not. It's not. So it's just like always reminding people that this didn't start in October, and this has been ongoing. And I think one of the most surprising things is when I a couple of, a week after, I was having a gym session, and I was talking to someone in the gym and explaining that Israel was formed in 1948, and they were like, "What? I don't understand." And I was just like, "Oh, wow, people don't, it's just, So not even necessarily, I don't expect people to know like the specifics that it was formed in 1948, but just like a bit more, understanding. And I've gotten messages from people just saying like, I just didn't know this was happening. I'm so sorry. And I'm like,
oh wow. And I think I mean, I know for me personally as well, I think a lot of what we were told / taught was that the conflict was just too complex. It was like, it's too confusing, it's too complex for people to understand. So it's easier to just say it's really complicated. And like, that's kind of the blanket statement I think most people make when they're not even trying to have the conversation, but just saying, mere mention of it is just to be like, it's too big of an issue. But no, I wanted to come back to food in particular, because this is like a major thing for us that we speak about on the podcast, but also within the book as well, and how it's this incredible connector, as well as something we often turn to, especially if you're someone who may not be like fully connected to one or multiple parts of your heritage. What was that? Where did that start for you? Why was food like such a major thing for you?
Well, I started cooking from a really young age because my dad and stepmom like aren't the best cooks. I don't say that on the podcast. I don't know what the so I started cooking for like myself and for my family there since when I was like 12, and then was cooking like most nights, and so I like started cooking out of necessity, really. And then I have like memories of being at my mum's on the weekends and like just sitting in front of the TV watching the Disney Channel, or like coring and stuffing courgettes and rolling vine leaves, and then having these like big meals. And memories in Palestine of it's my favourite way to eat is like there's those big silver trays filled with like courgettes and rice and vine leaves and big bits of meat, and everyone just like sitting on the floor and helping themselves from this big tray. And so I think like food has always been like a safe place for me, and it's attached to like a lot of nice memories. And so again, like it's one of the like food has just always been such an important part of my life, and it's come it's always come like very naturally to me to just it's like how I show love to people. It's like one thing I like will always do is people will come to me and I will feed them. And so it was just it was very natural. And again, like with the buns, I don't know, it's such a bizarre like amalgamation of things, but also at the same time it's like it's the truest expression of me. It's like because I'm half Palestinian, I'm half British, and not necessarily that buns are particularly British, but like it feels like a good way of like molding those things together, and also a way of people connecting to something that's not too traditional, because I think that a lot of the representation and a lot of the Palestinian and like more broadly like Arab restaurants food in London is very traditional food. It's not like it's, and so Bunhead is something that people can, young Palestinian Londoners as well, but also just like I guess just all different types of people can connect to and feel like not. I don't know. I know that like some people feel intimidated going into spaces that like are traditional and like are full of Arabs, and so I guess like or full of Palestinians. Or, do you know what I mean? Like they don't feel as safe going into a space that's
well, like you say, it's kind of like a nice entry point to again like the flavors and I guess the feeling and the sentiment behind all of those things. And I like hearing about this kind of very like traditional way of eating, which is like big plates and like sharing and stuff like that. It's very similar to like how the Ghanaians eat, how the Filipinos eat. Like I'm sure many different places like that, but I'm the same in that like I didn't grow up specifically with that style of eating, but I know that when I go to Ghana, when I go to the Philippines, and it is that way, it is very like, you just feel at home and you're just kind of like, oh.
Yeah, I always used to say to my mum that when I went to my mum's house that I wanted to eat the Arab way. Like lots of different plates of food, and it's like literally, if I'm at home on my own, I'll eat a bowl of pasta with my hands.
Yeah, we're big on eating with our hands. Yeah. It's so it's very freeing actually.
Yeah, it's true actually. Yeah. You just made me want to come around for dinner.
I know.
You can come round for dinner.
I was like, I feel a supper club coming on.
That's the next goal in the supper club. Yeah. Once Bunhead is like
love it.
able to kind of run itself a bit more, then I'd love to like explore more cooking.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, is that do you cook traditional Palestinian foods as well, like just when you're at home and?
Yeah, I cook moussaka a lot. A lot of Palestinian like big like feasting meals is quite like labor intensive. So I don't have the time.
I can imagine it's like an all day affair.
Exactly. Yeah. But I do like I cook as much as I can traditional Palestinian food, and definitely more over the last like few years.
I didn't realise moussaka was a Palestinian dish. My mum used to cook
Moussakan, not moussaka.
Okay, I was going to say.
Sorry. I didn't realise. Moussakan is like a really heavy sumac onions with roasted chicken, and then on a big taboon bread.
That sounds delicious.
That sounds amazing.
I feel like we may need to collaborate on this supper club situation.
Exactly.
I'm here for it. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
So nice.
Yeah, amazing. Our book, The Half of It, is out now.
It's been 4 years writing this, and I'm not punking you. You can actually get it from the show notes now. So order your copy today.
You've had Palestine and Palestinian flavours kind of baked into, pardon the pun, the business since from early. But were you ever, given what we were talking about before, were you ever worried about having that kind of at the forefront of the business, at the forefront of even the building?
No,
was that ever
honestly,
no.
Yeah. Like I don't.
You don't really strike me as that kind of person.
No, I don't think so. And also, like that's it. Like, and I understand the responsibility of it even more in the last 9 months. But actually, that just motivated me more. Like having the Palestinian on the shop front like that was so intentional, because I know that that's the space that I didn't have growing up. And so like when I see like Palestinians coming through the door and just saying thank you, and like it's like I'm just like that's all I need. That's all I care about really. It's like I want, and they're emotional about it, and I'm emotional about it, because like that's just like not there was nothing like this when I was growing up. And so just to be able to create that space, and I just think like if people get angry with me, if I have any pushback, I just think like, well, literally, this is where I'm from, and I have so much like moral clarity about it that I'm just like, I don't care. Like it's not. If you're angry about it, then fine. That's fine.
That's your business.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And I want to talk a little bit as well about going viral multiple times over now at this point. We've seen the TikToks, we've seen the reels, we've seen the queues as well.
Yeah,
I've been part of the queue.
Yeah. I've never been part of the queue, but I've seen the queues.
It's mental.
I was like, I came in, me and Izzy thought we were early, and we were like, came at like 10, and it was like,
gone.
No, we were gone.
You're like, oh no, that's definitely late.
It's gone.
Exactly. What has that felt like for you? Have you felt any kind of because I feel like oftentimes when it happens to businesses in particular, there may be like a kind of pull or pressure to kind of accelerate really fast and really try and meet demand, or at the same time also just kind of a feeling of like, oh, there's a lot of eyes on me in a way. Like what has that been like for you?
It's hard, to be honest. Like it's weird, because it's hard. I know that people are saying that we're going viral, and I know that that's true, but like it's so like laser focused on just like getting the buns out and like getting everything. So it's hard to process it properly. But obviously, like the queues are there every weekend. So it's just like it's very surreal, and. But also it comes with like complicated feelings, especially now, because like it's not lost on me that like at least in part, people are here because it's Palestinian, and and people feel like they want to connect to something, and so I don't know. It's like I'm getting a lot out of that. Obviously, like it's like like personally, whatever it's like, but so as long as I'm always, I'm always using that to also educate people or connect people to Palestine, or fundraise or do all that stuff. Like that's what's really important to me. Yeah, and in terms of meeting demand, my parents, well, my mum is always like, you need to make more buns. You need to do this. You need to. It's like you're letting everyone down. And I'm like, okay. Oh, no. But actually. And even like we have people asking if we're going to open Monday to Wednesday or whatever, but it's like,
when we live in.
Yeah, exactly. When will we take a break? But also like, it's okay if you can't get the bun like when you want it. It's we have a limited amount. We're two human beings. Like for a long time, it's just been I say for a long time, we've only been open for 6 weeks. But like for those weeks, like it's only been me baking the buns, and like it's okay if you have to come the next day or you have to come next week or
it's got to be sustainable for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't realise that this like urgency. This vibe of urgency and like I need this thing now is so connected to whiteness
and capitalism
exactly.
Completely.
And so for this to be sustainable for you and for everyone to continue getting their buns, I'm afraid they're just going to have to wait until
or come when it's like as close to opening as you can, so it's just it's definitely, it's like hard not to feel a pressure, but I just have to remind myself like you're one human being, like this is all you can do, and also like it's a small space. It's not. It's like we're working. Exactly. There's only so much dough we can make to put in the fridges to make it okay for the next day, and so like I just think like it's but in saying that, actually that then like compounds the issue because we're having to like put on Instagram, we would like to like share that we sell out within 2 hours, then it like creates this like creates this demand and this scarcity mindset. So then people end up queuing from like people were queuing from 9:30, now people are queuing from 9. So like when we're like if we're opening at 10, so it's just like we're kind of like contributing to the virality. Like unintentionally, because we're just like trying to keep people updated. I was like, I'm really sorry that they're gone, but it's I think.
I feel very privileged to be sitting beside some buns with like, nobody trying to fight me for this.
Literally like South London celebrity vibes. I love it.
I have been stopped in the street more than once, and everyone goes, "You're the bun lady, aren't you?"
Oh my God.
How do you like that?
I mean, it's bizarre. It happened when I went with my dad, and my dad was like, "She's the bun lady."
Like, yeah, she is the bun lady.
She's my bun lady.
Yeah, exactly.
The bun lady.
Yeah.
I love that. But also like you've always struck me as somebody who's like also just very grounded in general. Where does that come from?
I don't know, My mum said to me, she's going to tell me off for saying this on camera. She's like, I just don't know how something so sane came out of someone so insane.
You don't strike me as that at all.
No, I'm the sane person and she's the insane one.
I was gonna say, that's so not your energy.
No, she's literally the opposite. She's like, I'm just so crazy, and you just seem so grounded, and maybe it's because of that. But yeah, I think I have. I can't tell you where it's come from, but I think I have been I've always been someone who's like I know myself, and I feel grounded most of the time. I mean, like Georgia and my boyfriend might tell you differently. I definitely have my moments, but and I can be like neurotic about things, but
we all can.
I was going to say, can't we all?
For sure.
I wanted to ask you, because you said, you're very clear, like your moral compass is really clear, and as long as you continue to educate, and as long as you continue to connect people to Palestine and the culture and the history. So I wanted to ask you, like, what are the things that you want people to know about Palestinian culture?
About Palestinian culture?
Sorry, that's a tough question.
No, I'm thinking about it. I think a lot of it is about the joy. Do you know what I mean? Like it's so, and that's the other thing, is that it's so easy for Palestinian culture to be shrouded with the oppression and the violence that we experience. But also, as Hussam Zomlot said, it's like Palestinians are some of the most educated. It's got one of the highest literacy rates in the world, because it gets it's so important. Like education and is so important in Palestinian culture, and also and food and funniness and joy and I think that that's a lot of it is just I don't know. It's just, there's so much art and poetry and stuff. It's just seeking out that stuff, rather than just, obviously it's important to know the history and to be equipped with some of that knowledge, but also it's important to be seeking out the artistry and the food and because we are not just the occupation, we are not just the situation in Palestine.
Definitely. I listened to this whole podcast just about a theatre company in Palestine.
The Freedom Theatre.
Yeah, and the shows that they were putting on, and it was just, it was great to listen to, and also just such a insight into the way that art was just still arting, I just found that fascinating and also beautiful in it.
And that's it as well, as people, and people even who did know a bit prior to October, if I said I was going to Palestine, be like, oh, but isn't it scary there? Isn't it bad? Even my boyfriend, when we first met, he would be like, oh, I'm going to go to a war zone. I can't go to a war zone. And I was like, his mum, he's Irish, so his mum was always more educated on the Palestine issue. But I was just like, it's also, yes, there is occupation, there is oppression, but also there is life, and Palestinians are some of the most resilient, steadfast, strongest people because of the situation, but there is so much life in Palestine, and it's not scary to be there. I mean, maybe it is, I don't know. Sometimes I think maybe it is, and I'm just because I've been there and I've been but I just
and of course I totally understand that. I also want to talk a little bit about Georgia, who is your co-owner, who we love also, and she's also coincidentally mixed, which I thought that was such a cool I just thought that was really cool.
Is it coincidental? Do we think?
Well, probably isn't. We went to uni in Leeds, so it's probably not coincidental that we found each other.
There we go.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And what made you guys come together on this? And and I guess what made you want her to be involved, and how did that sort of come about?
I think definitely the mixedness helped me know that there would be someone who would understand the goal and the aims of Bunhead. And I mean, the timing was just right. She was between jobs, and she was working in a coffee shop in Gypsy Hill, and she was doing barista training and stuff. And I was thinking about looking for a shop, because I was like, I can't carry on doing this from home, blah blah. And so I just kind of ran it by her one day, and I was like, would you want to do it with me? And she said yes. Yeah, and I mean, obviously, again, this was all prior to October, so there's definitely been some teething pains with, just because it's, there is an undeniable political element to this business, and that's all and so it's important that whoever works here is in support of that and understands that there could be. We haven't had any negativity, we haven't had any pushback yet, but that is a possibility, and so it's just important that anyone who is who is working here, who is aligned morally, politically, maybe that's a bad thing to say, I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think it's important. I mean, at the end of the day, it's your business and it has a clear vision. You have, like you said, a clear moral compass. Like any business, you have to have, you know, people in the company who are aligned to that vision.
What are the dreams? What are the visions for Bunhead? Where would you like to take this?
Well, I think in terms of the bakery, it would be, the goal is that it will be able to run itself, so I can step away a bit and kind of bake. I mean, not bake. I'm all like, because obviously, like, I am Bunhead. No, but also like I am Bunhead. Like that's how people know me as Bunhead sometimes before they even know my name. And
That
so
is true.
like,
People do call you Sarah Bunhead.
So it would be nice maybe to like step away and just like explore cooking more as Sara, and like and the goal is to like popularize Palestinian food heritage and also be like someone who I don't strive for fame at all. Like I'm not someone who wants that, but like I want to be
someone who does.
But at the same time, I want to be like, if that's, I don't know, it's not like fame isn't the right word, but like I want to be known for, for like, and it to be that I've come up always being Palestinian, because there are chefs who have become more, it's been more hidden as they've come up, but like I want it to be like everyone knows like Palestinian chef, like that's who it is. Yeah.
And I guess, sorry to say, I was like, that was my final question, but it made me want to ask a different question, which is, it's like you are Bunhead, but you're also Sara. What? And I feel like we all kind of relate to that, like the brand versus the person. And like where those things separate, and what that looks like for you, and how that's
that's a good question. I
guess maybe right now
I have no idea.
The worst question to ask.
It's a journey, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's gonna be.
Yeah. It is.
It is
feel
just
like it is a journey. And maybe some days you're more Bunhead and some days you're more Sara.
Yeah. Thursday to Sunday in Bunhead.
I don't know. But like, do you not feel that way though? Like when you're kind of out being you in a brand capacity versus a you capacity?
I feel like the reason why I'll never be as successful as somebody else might is because I'm always me. And I'm just this multifaceted person, and therefore like I can never really form a brand that's going to be palatable for en masse. I don't want to condemn myself to like, you know, lack of success. So just touching wood here, but I do feel like I do feel like I just am me.
Yeah.
I understand. I do like, but that I think about that and the dichotomy and the problematic nature of capitalism, brands being intertwined with your brand as a person and being a person who people perceive to be a brand in some respects. And I find that incredibly challenging and always have, especially, you know, when I first started in sustainability and no one even knew what sustainability was. And, you know, there were just so many elements as to why it felt really like knotty. And even now with us doing, focusing on race, identity, belonging, and then I have, you know, sustainability as my core work, but people still aren't ready to understand intersectional perspectives. And so there's always this job of explaining yourself, which is why it's hard to kind of maintain a brand
in that way
perspective.
I think it's been like I feel like I've been so lucky in a way, because people have, maybe, I don't know, intentionally or unintentionally, people become so connected to like me as and the story behind Bunhead, and like, because I think I'm quite an open person anyway. I'm like, and so I'll like share what I'm feeling or I'm thinking, whatever, on, and they can see the like journey. And so much of the time, people who have been following me since when like 2020 or whenever, and they kind of just like, just seeing your journey is like, seeing it, like you being here is amazing. And so it's like, yeah, and also even being like a inflammatory or like a not a palatable person. I think that we, especially since everything's been in the last 9 months, like so much, I don't know, ideas that people had of the world is like falling apart. It's like people keep seeing on Instagram, like the empire is falling, the empire is like, and it's like, and it's about like people are quite happy or are happier than they were to be challenged, because they've realised that so much of what we've been fed has been a lie.
Yeah.
So it's fine to not be palatable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that is true.
And so much of that is to do with culture. It's like because I have these like arguments with my sister, because I'm like I'm quite a angry person, and I don't like not that I'm not an angry, but like how I express my
You don't come
like
across in that way at all.
But like I'm like very clear cut. I'm direct. Like I feel like it's like I have moral clarity on a lot of things, and I get. And like how I express it can be perceived as angry or like, but it's
also,
like,
I think that's also
thing.
because
it's
we're women as well. People will say that.
That's very, very true.
But it's like, you know, Palestinian culture is like everyone thinks like if people receive Palestinians, they're shouting all the time, they're really angry, which I think is such a like just like cultures across the world to white
like
people especially,
just like something.
Just
that's
perceived
something
as angry.
you and I come across constantly.
Yeah, it's as a woman how you're received, and then as a black woman
how you if you. I was like, even when you push back against something, you're seen as being angry about it or shouting or wanting to cause an argument or whatever. People have many
I'm like, it's fine,
ways.
let's have an argument.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That's one thing that I always kind of like, especially with some of my friends, I'm like, it's fine, like we can have an argument, and then like 20 minutes later it's done. I'm like, I'm over it. Do you know what I mean? It's like or like a confrontation doesn't have to be like a bad thing.
Negative.
Not everybody is like that or knows that, you know, for example, if you have an argument with them, they don't know that you're going to be fine like afterwards, as long as you've managed to say your piece. So I think people get really terrified that they're going to break something that will never be fixable.
Yeah, that's very true.
And I'd love for our audience to know how you're giving back with your buns.
So we have a fundraising collection, which runs. We launched it first as a pre-order, but soon we'll just have them like rolling. We'll have them in the shop available. So it's an illustration, the watermelon in a bun. This is We Are All Palestinian. And so that with 100% of the profits from that will go to organisations, projects through the Palestine Journalist Syndicate, which is by my cousin, that they're working with families and on the ground in Gaza and the West Bank, getting like food, shelter, aid, press equipment, all that kind of stuff. And then moving forward, we'll have some bun specials that will run like for a month at a time, and 100% of the profits for those as well will always go to projects in Palestine.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Amazing. Thank you so much for watching today's episode.
If you enjoyed it, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel so you can catch the next one.